Well, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for delay in videos, guys. Had to wait till got a new mic and had some personal stuff going on top of it. So, but today, this evening, we're going to go over a nifty little trick that you guys can do to help you out if you're happening to be lost. I know a lot of times the bushcraft and survival thing, you were usually dealing with a lot of bug out stuff and stuff of the nature, but in this scenario, we're going to run it as if we got lost and we need to try to help search and rescue find us, and we got very minimal amount of gear with us to do so. So stick with me, guys. I'll reset the camera here and I'll just kind of go over the basics. Okay, real simple for the most part, guys. What we're really going to need for this fixed blade knife, and I brought my small one out, a little Ifengro. And if you don't carry something to write with, I have a plan B for that, but for this example, something to write with, put that back in the shirt pocket, and just my little silky pocket saw. So, I mean, in lieu of that, if you got a larger knife for chopping or hatchet, you could use that instead of a silky saw. But usually if I'm going out into the woods somewhere, I'm usually camping or just practicing skills or something, I'm typically always going to have a saw of some variety. So that's the tools that we're going to use for this example. So first thing we're going to need to do, I need to get a batten made, and then another longer stick, somewhere around 1.5 inches, 2-inch diameter. So we'll go procure those two items and we'll get right back at you. Okay, guys, I cut this part that could go in the ground at a 45-degree angle, make a little bit of a sharp point on it, and you obviously take your knife, hatchet, whatever you have, thin this out a little bit, and we're going to be striking the top of this with our batten. All right, so now there's more than one way that you can process this piece here, which is going to be kind of our marker. Now the idea is, say we're lost. Now we can use our tools and procure several of these. I mean, you want to keep the one good batten, or if you need to, make them all. Should only be the one you have to make of that. But as you're traveling along, whichever direction you're going, you can place these along in your path, and if need be, you can make enough of these to where you plant one, walk out just to where you can still keep this one in sight, put another one. However, so there's multitude of ways to do this. One simple way, we need a spot that's kind of bare and clean. Regardless of which method you prepare this top part, I would remove the bark completely all around it. That way it will, once I get the bark off, you'll see it'll make a stark difference because of the color, because you're going to go from the mottled color of the bark to this much whiter color. So that'll help make it easier to see. Now, obviously, if you happen to have marking tape with you, all the better, but this will potentially come in handy if you need to leave a message, hence the writing tool. Pencil, pen, preferably a pen or a marker. All right, so you can do it this way. Now we can take our knife and batten, we can split this thing right dead down the center, because we'll want a flat surface to write on. Or you can take your saw, make a small stop cut, come in here, batten through that to the stop cut, pop it out, got a flat spot. But the important thing is to have a flat spot to actually write on. And try not to get a really wet wood to do this, unless you got like a good Sharpie or something of nature. All right, guys, we got ourselves set up here. Get our knife. And if you manage to do this all the way through, dead center, which may be difficult because I got a lot of twists and bends in this. If you get a nice good even split though, that potentially can give you 2 pieces out of 1. It's but we'll see how far we can go. If it doesn't go perfect, that's no big deal. If you're out in the woodlands, you probably got plenty to choose from. That didn't do too bad. All right. So now we got 2 relatively flat surfaces, and then we can take our knife and dress that up even more. Okay. We got our piece, and this is pretty good shape. I really don't need to do a lot with it. That's fairly good as it is. There's not a bunch of little fur balls and whatnot to interfere with the writing utensil. So now I did bring 2 writing utensils with me, for example of, and I was going to mention this marker. If anybody hasn't tried these, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my Sharpies, but doing a lot of building stuff, sawmill and working with metal, these things are fantastic. So, but for my example here, real quick, first thing up, we'll use my Write in the Rain pen. Now then, like I said, ideally, if you're lost and you're trying to aid search and rescue, having some way to show them where you've been. Let's say you want to do a combination of self-rescue. I mean, whatever the area is pretty crappy, you need to get out of there, find greener pastures. Maybe you have to track down water. Leaving signs behind, where you've been could really help. And just real quick example, I made sure I got one big enough to write on. And if you can figure out your cardinal directions, either by compass, the sun, just lost. And you could write something as simple as head north. And if you don't know for sure what your direction is, in lieu of writing that down, simply put an arrow on it. So let's say I want this facing down the trail. This would been, you want this facing as you would walk up on it from where you just walked up there. Put this to where it'd be facing someone else following you, and simply put arrows. And there's a multitude of ways you can put your arrows to show that you went forward. Now, in lieu of twisting this thing to the side, making it a little bit harder to see, to let them know you went, say, straight. Oh boy, my art skills are not the greatest. Simply put an up arrow. That will let them know that, as they're looking straight on this thing, that you went dead straight. As they're facing this side, you went straight. And obviously, you can just simply, left, right, down. Now, as simple as that. But once you get this pattern of how you're going to put arrows on this thing, don't change it. Keep it the same. That way, if they are trying to find you to rescue you, you don't confuse them later on down the road. Now, this is a pretty simple trick, and it's Rite in the Rain pen ink. This ink should stay on here for a very long time. Rain won't wash it off, and the same with this Milwaukee marker. It's quite bold, and this ink that's in this marker is meant to really have a lot of staying power. It's for actually marking on stuff you're going to be working on, your cutting, making measurements and stuff. So, like I said, I dare say that these are quite a bit better than Sharpies. And again, no offense to Sharpies. I love my Sharpies. But as you can see, it makes a nice, easy to see, bold. This is a blue one. They come black, green, red, But now we'll drive this thing in the ground real quick. Here we go. Give her a good shake. All right, like I said, now as I planted that's as I'm walking away from the camera, guys. Come up here, hammer this thing in. Now it's information space in the camera behind me. I'll walk on to a point where I start losing, before I lose sight, make another one, hammer it in the ground. And if you have to make changes in directions due to terrain, or just because you need to or want to, that's where making the arrows, I went this way, really come in handy. Now, you're saying, well, that's all well and good. I don't carry a pen. I don't even carry a pencil. There is another means to do this, though it is nowhere near as efficient. You can take, if you got a knife, an awl, heck, a nail if you can find it, on your blank side here. Literally, if you do nothing else, if you want to take the time to carve lost, even better. But you can take your knife, if nothing else, carve out your arrow. Now, the rest of it's the same as far as planting it and, walking away so you can still see it. But now you have an options to rub dirt into the part that you've carved out, or charcoal from a fire. You got your city coal from your fire. The only bad thing about that is they won't last as long. Maybe if you're in the season, you can find some berries. Take a small stick, mash up some berries, and kind of dip it in the berry juice and apply it to your carved out arrow. I mean, that's not necessarily something that's going to happen for you, but it's better than nothing. At the very least, you'll have a couple days. Hopefully, there's not a lot of heavy rain and stuff going on. But even this thing stuck into the ground is going to be weird. As someone from search and rescues walking through, they're highly trained to find stuff that's not normal, small disturbances, looking for tracks, branches that are bent over, things that have been stepped on and snapped. And if they see something like this sticking out of the ground in the center of a deer trail, or obviously where you maybe walk through a small field of grass, and you got about 3 or 4 or 5 of these with you, and you're just planting them as you go along, they're like, okay, hey, that ain't normal. But I mean, if you got the time and patience and the skill, I guess you could kind of, I drive it in the ground first, but then maybe try to carve a physical arrow out of that. Yeah, I mean, but the only other thing I can think, like I said, is literally take your blade and carve out an arrow inside this material, and for the try to see if I can get you guys. I'm sure you'd rather watch that and see my dumb face while I try to do it. And again, like I said, there's no guarantees, but this will work as well, because like I said, you're actually running the risk of something eroding your mark. But if a search and rescue man's worth of salt, or woman, once they see these things sticking out of the ground, it's going to immediately be, pretty simple, basic, like, oh, okay, there's definitely something going on here, and they'll probably notice a pattern. But if you can make some kind of identifying marks for them to follow, it'll be that much easier and faster. And, then that means potentially you get saved faster. And like if you're in the dead of winter, it makes everything so much worse if you're lost. Hopefully you're properly prepared. If you're not, you're in far more danger, and the clock is seriously ticking on you. And I recommend not to get in a rush. I understand, you're lost, you're frightened, you're stressed, but don't rush doing this if you're carving, because if you rush this, you could wound yourself. And that is kind of one of those deals where a mechanical injury in an emergency situation just so much amplifies the danger you're in, and it makes it even that much more stressful on you, so you're liable to make more mistakes. All right, now we got a crude arrow carved in there. Now I'm literally just going to bend down here and grab a little bit of dirt and rub it into that. Now, if you're in an area that has black soil, all the better, but mostly out here where I live, you're going to get red clay, and it is not going to stand out near as much as like a good black soil would. I needed to refine that arrow just a little bit better, but I think you guys will get the idea here. That made it stand out all that much more. Now, if you happen to have one of those carving jacks on you, that would that would make making the arrow just easy could be. You make it nice and deep and nice and pretty. But now, like I said, in the same idea here. Now, imagine if you did that with some charcoal, if you had the time, maybe the same technique. Get a stick, think pen or pencil in your head, cut the bottom of the stick you're going to right whip off at a sharp 40-45 degree angle. Get some charcoal, mix in a little bit of water, get it kind of sludgy, dip it in there. It makes these gouges nice and deep. Paint it in there with that stick like you're using a pen, or the berry juice, something like that. Also, if you have marking tape, though, you could mark branches and stuff as you go. But if you're coming up through a section where you might have to cross a large open area and there's no branches to tie it on, and it is risky to try to tie it on some high grass, you could, like I said, in that case, you don't need near as big as a stick. You can get several sticks, drive them into the ground, maybe make a simple shallow notch to help hold that marking tape on. Drive this thing in the ground, put your marking tape on, and that'll give nice visual markers along your path for someone who's trying to find you. Like I said, a lot of times I understand that we're getting into the bushcraft survival thing. It's a lot about, it's escape and evade, it's stealth, it's bugging out. It's always a really negative scenario where there's some kind of horrible event that's happened, World War III, societal collapse, and then you don't want to be found, and you're doing your stealth game then. But I honestly think more often than not, this sort of thing is not as talked about because it's not as fancy, it's not as sexy. It's just, it's not as cool. But for that being said, as things being realistic, I think you'll find yourself more liable to be in I'm hurt, I'm lost kind of situation than you're going to be in a without rule law situation. And knowing methods as far as the bushcraft survival thing go, and building a shelter, making a fire, sterilizing water, getting food, keeping your core body temperature under control, whether it's hypo or hyperthermia. Now, those are your foundations, and everything above that is just a little more advanced stuff to help you come up with ideas and make strategies to help you get rescued or rescue yourself. Now, this one, though, this is obviously rescue by search and rescue or something like this. Now, let me put this to you this way, too. It could be a simple scenario as you don't want to hack up a bunch of nice, healthy trees like to blaze a trail. Maybe you're just going out hunting and you maybe got like a family member or friend who's coming in after you. You can kind of meet up somewhere. You may not know exactly where you want to set up your camp. You could use these as markers. No drama or danger even has to happen. These could just be simply set up to, help people navigate to a certain area that you want them to be able to get to. All right, guys. Like we'll end it here. Hopefully, like I said, there's more than one way to set this thing up and do it. And I encourage everybody to use it like a thought experiment. If you can come up with better ways, or maybe you've had experience with this and you know how well it works or don't work. Now, I admit I've never been in a search and rescue situation to do this, to where I had to do this to get found. But this is just a random idea that came to my head not too long ago. So I figured I'd share that with you guys. Share your comments, guys. Like I said, I like talking with you guys, and like I said, I like thought experiments. It helps you think, gets juices flowing. Next thing you know, you can come up with multiple ideas how to do something, and now it's in your head. So if you ever do get in that situation, like, I know what I could do. And that, I apologize again for late videos, guys. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and how life is. But with that, thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you very much. And I'll see you all soon in another video.